Hello folks, welcome to Looplearnings, and this is the first video of the series. We are making inventory management system in which we will have multiple videos in this series. Of course, we will build the database, and based on that we will build the user interface in Microsoft Access. So we are working on the SQL for the database and for the access for the user interface. So it's going to be exciting series, I'm sure. But for me to continue making these videos, what I need from you is the support. And what kind of support? Well, the support in terms of watching these videos first of all, and liking what you will see hopefully, and subscribing to the channel, hitting the bell icon so you get notification whenever I upload a new video. Another thing I would suggest that if you really want to learn, you can become member of my channel, and hopefully you will be learning quite a few things. So in this video and the next couple of videos, maybe one or two, the second or third video, will still be talking about the database. And it's very, very important that the database is well thought out, the database schema is well thought out, and so we can build a proper foundation, which is our database, and the user interface then automatically will become snappy and quick and easy to operate. So I have done a bit of work on creating the database schema in terms of creating tables and columns in each table. Here is the database schema in Excel, and you can see that there are quite a lot of tables that I've created as part of this application. And I want to create these tables. So for example, first we will create a table called products, in which we will focus on the product ID, product category ID, supplier, cost price, selling price, minimum stock level, unit status. All of these are minimum very, very important fields that we will have. We'll then have supplier table, which will hold the information about the supplier. We'll have the product category table, which will hold the information about the categories of the products, because as a business you may have different categories of the products, and categorizing them is better because then you can do the analysis of sales and purchase and whatsoever. And then you will have the transaction types. Now transaction types we will create because the transactions will happen as part of the inventory management system. So for example, we will do purchase of the material, we will do the selling of the material, some material will be returned. So we want to capture all of that as part of the inventory management system, so we can categorize them, we can do some reporting based on that, etc. And not only that, we can manage the inventory, which is the core of this application. Okay, and then we will create a table for the purchase. And of course, we will have the basics of the purchase. So purchase ID, who's the supplier, and the purchase date and status, and the purchase detail table, which will be linked to the purchase table. And basically the idea is that detail table will hold the information in terms of what product in what quantity we are purchasing. So all of that is very, very as well. And then if we're talking about purchase, and if we purchase the material, we have to do what? We have to sell that material, right? So that's why we will create two tables related to sale. So first table is sales, that will hold the information about the sales orders. And then of course the second table will be about the sales order details, which will hold the information about the sales order details. By name you can understand. So this table will be linked with the sales order table, so we can hold the information and link the information as well. So if I look into the further right, we have another two table. Of course, we have the table called inventory, and this is the main table of the database, because remember the name of the database is inventory management system. So this is going to be the main table. In this, we will have this table linked with the product table, with the transaction table, and with what quantity, what product we have sold. And of course, there are two important fields, that quantity change. I will explain you later, and then the new quantity in stock. So if we have sold something, The quantity change will be for, let's say, I've sold one product in one quantity. And of course, when I will update the purchase or sales table, I will make sure that, the data is transmitted to this inventory table as well, because ultimately the inventory table is the one that we are going to refer to see if we have enough stock available, if we need to order this some stock or not. And then, of course, as part of the application, the accounting is very, very important. So account payables, account receivables, all of that will capture here as well. And this table will be linked with the transaction table, product table, etc., etc. So we can actually have bit of accounting going on in the application. Of course, this is just the basics of accounting. I'm not covering the full-fledged accounting, the opening account, the closing account. If you want, of course, maybe I will make those videos, but those videos will be only for members. So that's why I'm asking. The link is in the description for become a member. So do join my channel as a member. That would be awesome. So this is what the database schema looks like. Although, as I said, I've really thought about it, and based on my thought process, I have put down this database schema. And again, if there is any modification required, of course, with the passage of time, when we make the application later in the stage, we may, change a little bit because of something that we may have forget at this stage. So keep that in mind. It's okay if we will come back to the database and do some structure change, and that's fine. Actually, it should not happen. But, since I'm not really an expert, I don't consider myself expert in this area. So I may make a mistake, which I have to correct later on. And that's okay with me. Okay. So now that's enough. I think let's go to the SQL and let's create a database, and then let's create few tables in this video. And then we come back for the next video and we'll make the remaining tables as well. So let's go to the SQL, and here we are. This is Microsoft SQL, and that's why I was wanting to make some videos for you to get some awareness on the SQL. Okay, anyway, so let's create a database first. So I'm going to create a database, and to create a database, we simply right click here on the databases and new database, and it will have a pop-up screen and it will ask, what do you want to call this database? So because this is inventory management system, I'm going to call it IMS, right? Simple as that. And if you remember, I explained what is the purpose of this. If you did not know, or if you haven't watched, please do watch the first video of the introduction to Microsoft SQL. You would know all of this, okay? So, but I will call it IMS. That means inventory management system, and I'll hit OK. That's it. And what it will do, it will create a database here. Now, if I'll expand this database, this database is very empty because it doesn't have any table except the tables that are, for the Microsoft SQL itself. Now, let's create the first table. And as again, I have demonstrated in Introduction to SQL series, there are multiple ways to create the table. In this video, we will stick to the graphical user interface of making the table. Okay, so we'll go to the Excel sheet and we will start with the first table that is called the products table. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's create the table first, and then let's put these columns in that table. So to create a table, again, you right click on tables, new, and there are many types of tables, but you select simply the table from the drop down. Again, it will now ask us the information, what information we want to give, what columns we want to create. So let's go ahead and do that. So first one is product ID. So we'll simply copy and we'll paste. That's another beauty of having the database schema on Excel. So you just copy and paste. Now, what data type? As I mentioned here, it's number data type, but you can have the text data type as well, because sometimes you may have alphanumeric values as a product ID, and that's okay. So if you have that situation, then you choose varchar instead of number. But I'm going to stick with the number field because I'm going to make it as auto field, and I'm not really concerned about the ID here. ID is important though, don't get me wrong please. So I will consider this as a int, as an integer. Allow nulls. No, I don't want this field to be, or this column to be null. Now because as I said, this is going to be, the product ID is going to be like the auto number field, and so I'll expand this property, and I will come here and we will scroll down a little bit in the properties of this column. If I see identity specification, I expand this, and right now identity specification is no, so we will turn this on. So for example, from here I'll say no, it is identity increment 1, identity seed 1. And again, if you want to know what it is, please go and watch my introduction to SQL video series, video number 1. All right. Is indexable? Yes, it must be indexable because this is going to be the primary key. Talking about the primary key, by default, Microsoft SQL will not consider the first column as the primary key, unlike the Microsoft Access. So you have to define that the first column or whatever the field you want to set as a primary field. So I've selected that, and I click on this icon, set as primary key. All right. Now let's move on and let's begin adding other columns. So this is the product name. So this will be varchar. So I'm not going to keep 50 because some products may have bigger names. So let's give 200 is the size. You want to keep null? No, I don't want this to be as a null. So we go to the next field, which is category ID. And the category ID is going to be integer because I'm going to link this with the category table. Here's one thing I spotted. It's something else. We were binary. Nope. I want the varchar type. So let's search why it is not showing here. So there is n varchar. And let's give 200 as the field. So just make sure that you keep an eye on these things because sometimes you make mistakes as well. Supplier, again, supplier is going to be the foreign key, and I don't want to keep this as an empty key. Cost price. Now, there is a data type called money, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. But because we are going to link this application with the Microsoft Access recognize this maybe as a currency, if I'm not mistaken. But to avoid any kind of problem, I don't want to have a problem later on, so we'll keep it as int, okay? Because I don't want any problem to be created, honestly speaking. And then we'll add the next one, selling price, int. We don't want this to be a null. Minimal stock, and int. And I don't want this to be a null. Unit, we will keep it as text. Okay, I don't want this to be a null. And of course, the status of the product, this is going to be nvarchar. Why it's a text here? Okay, nvarchar, and let's keep it 10, maybe for the unit. Okay, and status also we don't want to keep as empty. So now I have added all the columns that I wanted to add. I have kept the primary key, a product ID as a primary key, and that's the right way. And now I think we are done with making the table. So let's go ahead and save that. So I'll press Control S from my keyboard, and now it is asking, hey, do you want to give the name? And sure, I want to give the name is products. Okay, so that's how you create a basically a table. Now let's go ahead and create the next table, which is the supplier table, and we will use the again, we will use the graphical user interface. So table and supplier ID. Here we go. And this is going to be int. I don't want this to be null. And guess what? So the first column always is a primary key, right? So I'm going to consider this as a primary key. That means the increment identity, first of all, we have to turn this on as yes. Right now it is no. So let's turn this on as yes. Okay, and the identity increment and seed will automatically become 1 and 1. Okay, now I want to make this as a primary key. So let's set it as a primary key. And now move on and let's add another column. So this is going to be nvarchar. Again, I will extend the number of characters allowed, and I don't want this to be null as well. So contact, let's say, we need to have contact, and varchar 50 is enough, and then the email, again, and varchar 50 is enough. Email I can keep it empty. Even the contact I can keep it empty. Or if you want the contact, or if you want contact to be optional but the email mandatory, yeah, you can do that as well. So it's up to you according to your business. What is important for your business? So you choose that. Status I don't want to be kept as optional. So now I've created that table as well. So let's save it. And now it is asking the name of the table. So let's copy the name here, supplier. Okay, suppliers, because it will hold more than one supplier information. So that table is also created. So let's close that. Let's go to the next table, which is the product category. And this is also very, very important. So let's right click on the table and new table. And now let's start typing in the column category ID. Again, I want this to be a primary key, and I don't want this to be a null. And I also want this to be a identity as well. So let's turn that on, and here we go. The next column would be the category. Okay, so this will be nvarchar. I will increase the the character count to 100 allowed, and I don't want this to be a null. Essentially this is what it is required. So let's save this and let's give a name, products category. Okay, so save that. Great. Now let's create the last table for this video, and then we come back the next video and we will create the remaining tables in the database. Okay, so the next table is transaction types. As I said, this table will hold the transaction types. Now, as I said, we will purchase the items, we will sell the items, we will do the return of the items. We want to make sure that we keep that type of the transaction in a separate table. So if we want to run the report later on, it should be easier for us. Okay, now let's create another table. Right click on the table, new and table, and now let's give the name called the transaction type. So transaction type ID, and I want this to be integer, and I don't want null to be allowed. Now this, I don't want this to be as a auto number, because I want to feed in the information myself. So therefore I will not use the property and make it as identity. So but I will turn the primary key on, and this becomes the primary key. Okay, so it will be automatically indexed it, and that's very, very important. Indexing is very, very important. Because I made this as a primary key, so this will be indexed automatically. The transaction type and nvarchar, I think 50 is enough, and I don't want this to be null as well. So let's save that, and transaction types. Okay, now we have created how many tables? We have created a database in this video. We have created 4 tables we have created. Now you must be thinking, hey, there are no tables available here. So just right click and just refresh. Okay, if you go to tables, and you will see here there are some system tables. We are not concerned about those, but these are the tables that we have created just now in this video. So likewise, we will create all the tables first, and then we will create the relationship. Then we'll be pretty much done with our database schema. So that means next video, again, we'll create some tables, and then the following video will create the relationship. So that's what is going to happen in the next couple of videos. So I hope that you are learning something. I hope that you have learned something in this video as well. If you have, please do let me know in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, smash the like button if you like whatever you have seen, and also if you can join my channel as a member, that would be amazing. All right, this is it. This is what I wanted to demonstrate. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.